Hello and welcome back to my humble show. I hope you're having a great day today. I am your host for today and every other day, the Articulate Thinker, hopefully. Here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station, where I'll be assessing the situation. So be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. That's right. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Feel free to disagree with me as per always. I only have about 30 minutes to spare. I'm on my lunch break right now. I meant to share some of this earlier, in fact, on Friday. But there has been a lot of breaking news since. I'm talking about the news on Ukraine and Russia and everything in between. So, yes, obviously on Friday, there was a bit of a blow-up at the White House between Trump, Vance, and Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy was kicked out of the White House before any minerals deal could be signed. He went off to his corner of the world, and he has been talking with other world leaders since. And it appears that he woke up on the right side of the bed this morning, though it's a different time of the day over there, obviously. And he decided to give it another go. He is reaching out. He has supposedly come to some sort of agreement with the United States, i.e. Donald Trump. And there could possibly be an announcement as soon as this evening at the semi-State of the Union address by the aforementioned Donald Trump. So we'll see what happens. There has been a lot going on lately. Besides that, I talked on Thursday about the Jeffrey Epstein files, which were a big old nothing burger. Pam Bondi has since informed us that she has a lot of new documents in her lap, the ones she wanted initially. I'm hoping this won't be another nothing burger, but she is saying that there will be another document dump at some point with more redactions, of course. So we'll see what they actually give us this time around. If it's another nothing burger, I'm going to lose even more faith in her, so on and so forth, than I already have. But as for other news, well, there's a lot of tariff talk, and I might talk about the tariffs at some point, but I need to do my due diligence before I dig into all of that. So just letting you know, I can only do so much here. But yes, I am going to be going back through a thread I prepared on Friday. I was going to be talking about, well, everything that went down in D.C. with Zelenskyy, whatnot. But it didn't happen, so now I have more prepared for you. I'm going to talk about some of the new news, and then some of the less new news. It's like computers. Everything is updated so fast, so I'm going to try my best to keep you updated. If I miss anything, update me, and we'll see what happens. I just thought that this was interesting. I'm going to share this with you before I get into the topic of today. This is the definition of the blob, says Autism Capital on X. Zero original thought, all reading off the same script, all holding the DJI microphone, trying to look like a Zoomer YouTuber. It's the party of pure, unfettered inauthenticity, a grift machine with replaceable parts. This video or compilation of videos basically reposted from Insider Wire here. But let me just play this.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
So, needless to say, there's no need to keep that going. What you see there is a compilation of clips of members of Congress all saying the exact same thing. That's right. They have some kind of script going around. It started with just a few of them responding to that video of Donald Trump, and they have a little bit of a speech they've been working on and spouting out for the public to view, for your viewing pleasure. And then they're just spreading it like wildfire. They're all repeating the same talking points. The exact same talking points. Like, word for word, verbatim. That's how it works. Members of Congress apparently want to function in the same way that the mainstream media does. You often see these sorts of scripts in mainstream media on various channels. They'll be saying essentially the same thing. They have certain phrases, but in this case, it's like a whole paragraph. So, it's whatever. I just thought that was somewhat amusing. Throughout the day, people have been adding more videos to the compilation. It just keeps growing. Yeah, another post on X from Autism Capital here, they say. And this speaks to today's topic. Breaking. The U.S. and Ukraine are reportedly to announce a signed minerals deal at tonight's congressional address. What happened to Trump's going to start World War III? How dare he act like this? He's going to ruin everything, etc. Walking away from a deal is part of a deal. I mean, is it though? Some would say this is 3D chess on Trump's part, and it might very well be, but I do think that if walking away from the deal wasn't just a part of the deal, and he weren't returning to the table to sign the deal, you would then be making a completely different argument about how the deal was no good, it was never going to be any good, and it should not have been signed, and Donald Trump was right to walk away from it. So if he walks away from it, way to go. If he walks back to it, way to go. Some people, they just go along with it no matter what he does. I'm not necessarily saying that Autism Capital is falling in line, towing the company line to that extent. Maybe, maybe not. But I did say, or rather I asked the question, so are the Trump supporters who celebrated the deal cancellation now going to scold Trump for signing it? And this is probably not in response to me, but up here, Autism Capital added to the thread. The people screeching about Trump's actions here have never done a deal or have little business experience. True, I don't. Trump told Zelenskyy to take a hike so Zelenskyy could absorb the reality of the fallout of not closing a deal with the U.S. Okay, this makes it sound like everything that happened on Friday at the White House was thought of ahead of time. It clearly wasn't. It was business per usual. Business as usual. I mean, they had a meeting, which was 45 minutes long, and it just went haywire at the end, and because of that, the deal, which they had already agreed to sign, didn't end up getting signed. So it's not like Trump thought this up ahead of time. Like, okay, we're going to have him come to D.C., we're going to pretend that we're going to sign it, we're going to tell everyone we're going to sign it, and then last second, we're going to say, just kidding, and kick him out of the White House. No. Things happen, I get it. I'm not knocking Trump for any of that. I think he handled things somewhat understandably. But this notion that he told Zelenskyy to take a hike, knowing all along that Zelenskyy was just going to come running back. Maybe. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's definitely a possibility. It could be that it's like in a movie. You have a movie about someone being taken hostage, maybe by terrorists, and maybe you're on the phone with those terrorists trying to get the hostage back, and at some point you hang up on the terrorist because you know that the script has been flipped and you now hold the cards. Remember Donald Trump telling Zelenskyy at the White House during their argument, you don't have the cards. You don't have the cards to play. Hey, it's perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly reasonable to suggest that Donald Trump was indeed on the top of his game in that moment, and he could suspect what might happen if indeed he did run Zelenskyy off in that moment. But if Zelenskyy didn't come running back, I just think that an entirely different argument would be made here about how Donald Trump was right to call it off because it was a no good deal and was never going to be a good deal. But anyways, I digress. Autism Capital continues here. He then went to all of the U.S. competitors and cried and explained his story and saw what kind of deal he could drum up. What he met and was met with was a lot of "we stand with you" lip service and very little financial commitment. That much is true. He was also being blasted by his own people. How could you do this, etc., and felt huge amounts of heat. So what happens? He comes back to the table to make a deal. The deal. This time with humility, and it gets done. The art of the deal. So I don't even necessarily disagree with any of that. What I'm disagreeing with is the people, and I did see some of these people. Some of these people had some things to say to me. They said that this deal is just garbage all around, and Donald Trump could see through it, and he called it off. Okay, so now the narrative here is Donald Trump was just trying to manipulate a slightly better deal. Well, we'll see what happens. If it works out for the best, I'm all for it. If it works out for the worst, I'm not going to pretend otherwise. So here's something worth noting. A headline from the Gardicle? The Guardian. Man, I'm tripping all over myself here. The Gardicle. That would actually make a great news publication. The Gardicle. Now, the Guardian says, EU spends more on Russian oil and gas than financial aid to Ukraine. Yeah. A little bit more detail here. Europe estimated to have bought 22 billion euros of fossil fuels from Russia in 2024, but gave 19 billion euros in support of Kiev and Ukraine, obviously. But that was published on February 24. And a lot of people probably don't know that. So, seems a little bit counterintuitive, does it not? When Europe is funding Russia even more than they're funding Ukraine. Essentially. Two different ways. But definitely worth noting. And Donald Trump noticed as much, and he put out on Truth Social last night this post saying Europe has spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. By a matter of billions of euros, right? And the war rages on. But that's a article from the Guardian. And I can link it to you if you want to actually read it for yourself. Speaking of articles, there was an article from the Associated Press yesterday. And it struck a chord with Donald Trump, or shall I say it struck a nerve with Donald Trump. So the headline read, Ukraine's Zelenskyy says end of war with Russia is very, very far away. Oh, no. Very, very far away. And Donald Trump responded on Truth Social saying, this is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelenskyy, and America will not put up with it for much longer. Let me just exit out of that full screen version of the image because it's actually easier for you to read. Like this. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing, and Europe, in the meeting they had with Zelenskyy, stated flatly that they cannot do the job without the U.S. Probably not a great statement to have been made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking? So Trump took a lot of issue with Zelenskyy's statement as quoted by the Associated Press, who's had a little bit of drama of their own to deal with. So I said here, safe to say Trump and Zelenskyy are on very different pages from completely different books. As a side note, Trump citing AP, Associated Press, is amusing. That's a story for another day. Yeah, Associated Press, not on good terms with the White House, namely the press secretary over there, Caroline Leavitt. But yes, shortly after that, as I could have added to this thread, all aid to Ukraine was suspended. It was put on pause. Not permanently, but temporarily. So there was a lot of talk about that last night. Oh no, it's the end. The end is near. The end is nigh. People on the left freaking out. But, fair to say, it was just a part of the deal. Because Trump loves to make himself a deal. And, yeah, as he said here in his post, in his opinion, Zelenskyy does not want peace as long as he has America's backing. Okay, wait a second. Wait just a second. Hold the phone, hold the wagon. So, a little bit of a critique here, and maybe I'm just misunderstanding this. Trump is outright saying that he believes that Zelenskyy doesn't want peace as long as the United States are backing Ukraine. Oh wait, then what's the point of signing the deal? Do you believe that he has changed since you posted this? Do you believe that Zelenskyy now suddenly wants peace if he secures backing, even in the form of a mineral deal by the U.S.? It's just interesting to me how Trump specifically canceled the deal because he believed that, as he said here, Zelenskyy doesn't want peace as long as we're backing them. But oh wait, it sounds like the deal is back on the table, and the two presidents are going to sign it in some form or fashion. Now maybe the details will be different. I'm no expert here. I'm just trying to make sense of everything without making too many mistakes along the way. Just hours after aid to Ukraine was put on pause, President Zelenskyy, that is, can't talk today, is pleading for another attempt at coming together to sign a minerals deal with the U.S. and ultimately a peace deal of some sort with Russia. Do you buy it? And will President Trump be willing to tango again already? It does take two to dance. In this case, it takes many dancers. I do have, or at least I did have, a graph pulled up yesterday. I don't think I do anymore. It showed the amount of funding we have given to Ukraine versus the amount of funding coming from, say, Europe. And yes, we are far and away the biggest backers of Ukraine we have been. That just came to mind. I thought I'd mention it. Especially in light of what I showed you, the headline I showed you about Europe getting so much of their oil from Russia while simultaneously defending Ukraine, though not to the extent that we have. Trump wants to change that. Maybe all of this is just an effort to prove to everyone, including Zelenskyy, that Europe has not done their part, even though they're sharing borders with Ukraine, just like Russia is. I mean, in one way or another, they're all over there. We're over here, and yet we've been the biggest backers. It doesn't seem fair, does it? Zelenskyy said, though, and this was posted 7:30 approximately a.m. this morning. Time frames may vary. He said, "I would like to reiterate Ukraine's commitment to peace." Oh, okay. So that's a different way to start your spiel than you did in the White House the other day. He goes on, "None of us want an endless war. Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer." Oh, okay, now you're talking. Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians. Okay, that would make sense. "My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts." Wow, he's really slapping it on thick, isn't he? Spreading it around. Saying everything that he could have said on Fox News with Bret Baier the other day, but he just had to wait and let it sink in. He had to talk to all the other leaders of the world and find out that he was going to be left high and dry somewhat, I guess. We are ready to work fast to end the war, and the first stages could be the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately. If Russia will do the same. That's a big fat if right there. And then we want to move very fast through all next stages to work with the U.S. to agree on a strong final deal. The grand finale. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. And we remember the moment when things changed when President Trump provided Ukraine with javelins under Trump's first term. This came up in the contentious conversation they had the other day. We are grateful for this, he says, as both Trump and Vance encouraged him to say that he's grateful. Our meeting in Washington at the White House on Friday did not go the way it was supposed to be. It is regrettable that it happened this way. It is time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it in any time and in any convenient format. We see this agreement as a step forward toward greater security and solid security guarantees. He's still using that phrase, solid security guarantees. And I truly hope it will work effectively. Does effectively equate to indefinitely? Or, in other words, forever? Only time will tell, right? How can you fully guarantee anything in terms of security? But he really sounds like he turned over a new leaf here. Woke up on the wrong side of the bed the other day, and then the right side of the bed today. So yeah, he's changing his tune, and hey, I'm all for it. I'm all for making a deal if the deal is done right, and you can't go wrong with it. What else has Volodymyr Zelenskyy been up to? Here on his X account, you will see he has been posting about all of his conversations with different world leaders. Even in the last few hours, here's a post from just an hour ago where he says, "Today I spoke with the President of Finland, the Prime Minister of UK, Prime Minister of Greece, Prime Minister of Croatia, the NATO Secretary General, the leader of Germany's CDU party, so on and so forth." He has been trying to get to the bottom of this, and props to him. He has a lot of people dying on his watch. Certainly not suggesting that it's his fault, but as Trump would say, I just want everyone to stop dying. And it could be that this is one of the greatest series of plot twists in wartime in history. I mean, if Trump does indeed pull this off, sure, he didn't exactly end the war in 24 hours like he said he would while on the campaign trail, but I never really saw that as practical. I thought he's just being a little bit rhetorical, and when it comes down to brass taxes, it's going to take some time. But just over a month into Trump's administration, if he can indeed get this worked out for the best, or at least for the better even, wow, could go down in history. And maybe some Democrats, some people on the left, will be forced to admit that they were wrong about some things. But yes, I do have a thread here, which I put together on Friday. I meant to share it Friday. I was taking everything step by step, one step at a time. I just never got around to recording a show about it. I don't have much time left. I have to go back to work here in a few minutes, so I might just speed read through some of this. I did want to play some clips, including that initial meeting, which went a little bit haywire, swung a little bit off the hinges, but I don't think I'm going to have time for that. Let me see here. Starting at the top, breaking news. President Trump posts on Truth Social that Zelenskyy can come back when he's ready for peace. All right, so that's what Trump said initially as Zelenskyy was being kicked out of the White House, I believe. This was right around that time. But soon after, it seemed to be suggested that Trump didn't really want Zelenskyy to come back anytime soon. And then Zelenskyy said what he said to the papers, something about how he believed the war was going to go on, it wasn't going to end anytime soon. Then Trump said, that's the worst thing you could possibly say. Suspended aid, paused aid. Then Zelenskyy, during his continued meetings with other world leaders, turned over a new leaf, woke up on the right side of the bed this morning, and said, we are ready to play ball. Whatever cards you get, whatever cards you got, that's what I'm willing to work with. And more humility on the part of Zelenskyy. Guess that's the proper way to put it. But Trump had said, or at least this was said on behalf of Trump, we had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation. Under such fire and pressure, it's amazing what comes out through emotion, and I have determined that President Zelenskyy is not ready for peace if America is involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage, I want peace. All cap. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. Some people were taking it as far as he disrespected America by wearing the wartime attire that he was wearing. I think that's kind of a stupid argument, but surely he could have handled himself a little bit differently. It's worth noting that when I initially was keeping up with all the news on that day, on Friday, I was listening to the meeting. It was before the actual press conference, which was ultimately canceled, before the signing of the minerals deal, which was ultimately canceled. So I keep referring to it as a meeting, but it's when everything went haywire, off the hinges. So I couldn't see the body language or anything like that, but I did watch it later, and also courtesy of some reporting by the likes of Megyn Kelly, who did a segment, I think yesterday, laying out some of the examples of Zelenskyy, even before the blow-up, showing very poor posture, inappropriate body language. He was interrupting Trump on various occasions, suggested even that Trump was relying on propaganda. He was just, I hate to talk about a president this way, but he was not behaving properly for someone who is a guest, someone who is in someone else's White House. So I think he could have handled that better. Do I agree with everything that was said by Trump and Vance? Not necessarily, but they were the ones who were controlling the room, and Zelenskyy was having a difficult time reading the room. Maybe he has a greater grasp of perspective now. So I asked at the time, what exactly does this mean when all of this was transpiring? More breaking news. The Trump-Zelenskyy press conference has been canceled. There was reporting on that from White House staffers. More breaking news. Zelenskyy is reportedly leaving the White House at Trump's request. Subject to change because you just never know when these things are being reported. Also, I wondered if he would be called back before long, which he wasn't, but now he is. From Shelley Talcott at the time, 2 sources confirmed to me that Zelenskyy is leaving the White House at Trump's request. His ride was waiting outside. There was a video of him leaving as well. Here's the full exchange between Trump, Vance, and Zelenskyy. It's 6 minutes and 30 seconds long. So I don't have time to play that, to react to that. But maybe at some point I'll do that. Maybe I'll also upload it to my Articulate Thinker News Clips channel just for historical purposes. Though I'm sure you've already seen it. More breaking news. President Zelenskyy has left the White House building as well as the parking lot. More breaking news. Yes, Trump kicked Zelenskyy out. Jackie Heinrich of Fox News laid out a bunch of details here. Trump kicked out Zelenskyy. He did not walk off on his own. And in fact, I believe Zelenskyy was somewhat reluctant to go. Rare minerals deal was not signed. White House says Ukrainians were begging to reset, but Rubio and Walz informed them Zelenskyy needs to leave the White House grounds, return when he's ready for peace. Basically, Zelenskyy, at least the other day, wanted to make a mineral deal to guarantee continued support for Ukraine, while Trump wanted to sign a mineral deal, in order to guarantee an end to the war. They had two different perspectives. They were on two different pages, two different books, even. And hopefully they've been able to bridge the gap since. If there's more breaking news during Trump's address of Congress later tonight, I might be back with more. She continued, the president and his U.S. officials felt disrespected by Zelensky's rhetoric and demeanor, cited that he was shrugging and rolling his eyes during the conversation, which he was. When I went to the upper press to ask what was going on, the lunch that Trump and Zelenskyy were supposed to dine on and talk over was sitting in the hallway. I'm told White House press officers or office staffers will be eating it, and they did in the end. But that's a bit of a nothing burger. Who cares about that? It's amusing, I guess. Around that time, the White House X account posted this American flag saying, America first. Yeah, a video here of Zelenskyy leaving the White House.
This is really pretty incredible. We see the
Jackie,
SUV,
hang on with us
Zelensky's
one moment.
SUV.
If you look to your left, you're going to see him. Let's watch.
Mr. President, is the deal off?
Okay. He did not shout Slava Ukraine on the way out, but he did leave the building in less glorious fashion than Elvis ever did. But they now have established a long-distance relationship, and he may not have to come back in order for them to work something out. Though if they want to sign the deal together, then they're going to have to flock together like birds of a feather. In case you missed it, this was the Ukraine ambassador's reaction to the clash between Trump and Zelenskyy. Oksana Markarovova. Hey, my cat is trying to tear up paperwork. Stop it. Sorry, got distracted. Yeah.
But I said to you, I want a ceasefire. With guarantees. Because you get a ceasefire faster than an agreement. Ask our people about ceasefire.
So that's when they were arguing. And she was heartbroken or embarrassed for one reason or another. I'm not sure exactly. Is she the one who had campaigned with Kamala Harris not too long ago? She might be. I think it was the ambassador, Ukraine ambassador. It was either her or someone else was campaigning with Kamala Harris. So that was actually brought up by J.D. Vance, if I'm not mistaken, during that argument. More breaking news. Of course, this is all broken news as of now. I'm just trying to speed read through this thread so I can get past it onto the next. Zelenskyy now says thank you on X, obviously a response to the criticism of Trump and Vance, who were knocking him for not saying thank you enough. And in fact, this was shortly after he left the White House, shortly before his interview with Bret Baier on Fox News. He was posting responses to a whole bunch of different people from a whole bunch of different nations saying, thank you for your support, thank you for your support, thank you for your support. And here he said, thank you, America, thank you for your support, thank you for this visit, thank you, POTUS, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace, and we are working exactly for that. So I don't know if if he had regrets at that moment. If so, he certainly didn't express them while being interviewed by Bret Baier. But at least he was suddenly grateful, even if more performatively. Another thing from Jackie Heinrich about the press staffers eating President Zelensky's lunch. Don't need to read into that any. This 2-minute long clip, 2-minute 30-second long clip of Lindsey Graham criticizing Zelensky and pretty much going as far as to suggest that Zelensky should resign from president of Ukraine, took some people by surprise. I said, in a bit of a plot twist, though I had a typo there, Senator Lindsey Graham essentially calls for Zelensky to resign or at least change his attitude. If I'm not mistaken, Karl Rove, Don Bacon, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and John Bolton all remain on the side of Zelensky. Will be interesting what all of them might have to say, to hear what all of them might have to say if this new deal is signed and announced during this speech Trump is going to give later today. And if it all works out, will some of these warmongering anti-Trumpers change their tune? Not to say all of those are necessarily anti-Trumpers, but they're considered warmongers by and large. So is Lindsey Graham, but he surprised some people with just how willing he was to scold Zelensky. I'm not going to play that. Sorry, I haven't played any clips with you other than the one of Zelensky leaving the building. Here's what the Democrats think about the White House, in case you're wondering. They said, fix that for you. And they did like a Photoshop of that post by the White House where they had the American flag. But the Democrats' account here replaced the flag. Put Putin first in place of America first. So, like I said about those other anti-Trumpers and warmongers, will they change their tune now that the deal is actually going to be signed, supposedly? Unlikely. Here's what the White House has to say about the Trump-Zelensky dispute and a newly released press release. There's a lot to that. I don't really have time to read through all of this. I'll leave it on the screen there for just a second so you can get a memo. Couldn't think of a better word to use there. But do you get the memo? And there's part 2 of that statement from the whitehouse.gov website. And that's really all I have to say for now. I had some other posts saved. They're bookmarked on my account. I was going to pull them up if I had any time. I was also going to react to that 6-minute, 30-second long video of Trump, Vance, and Zelensky arguing if I had time. But ain't nobody got time for that. I got to get back to work. But I'd be happy to hear from you. So let me know in the comments below what you think, what you know. If you know something I don't know, let me know. What say you? Basically. Keep in touch, keep in tune. New content is coming soon. Peace. My fingers are kind of invisible on a white wall, so I'm trying to move them around. I can go. No, I don't like that. Okay, now I'm just trying too hard. It's getting awkward. Get out of here. Get out of town. All right. See you next time.